Well, it finally happened. Twitter has censored Trump. And this is just the beginning, I'm afraid. Stay with me, folks, and we'll talk about it in a minute. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and we're going to start with a few political articles just to kind of set the stage for, what's coming. So, let's start with this one, the general election scenario that Democrats are dreading. What do you think it is? Well, the sad thing is, when you read through this, what they're dreading is that our economy will recover. Oh, you gotta be frustrated at people like this that really wish to see our country fail because they hate our president so much. Just it boggles my mind. You can see the line under the title. It says, "We are about to see the best economic data we've seen in the history of this country," says a top former economic advisor to Obama. That's a bad thing? That's what they're dreading because they know they can't fight Trump on the economy because he's doing great. And a lot of them are starting to say this. And I don't know, somewhere along the line, Politico has this fascination with Harvard because it seems like every article, the only authorities that they're quoting are people from Harvard. And that they make a point of saying this Harvard person and yeah, so I think they have this love affair going on with Harvard. Kind of interesting on that. But anyway, so yeah, this is Jason Furman, a top economist in the Obama administration, and now a professor at Harvard. Well, so was the guy that got arrested for taking money from China. Was speaking via Zoom to a large bipartisan group of top officials from both parties. The economy had just been shut down, unemployment was spiking, and some policymakers were predicting an era worse than the Great Depression. The economic carnage seemed likely to doom President Donald Trump's chances at re-election. Furman, tapped to give the opening presentation, looked into his screen of poorly lit boxes of frightened wonks and made a startling claim. "We are about to see the best economic data we've seen in the history of this country." And I think he's right, actually. I think things are going to start taking off. Obviously, there are going to be some companies, some businesses, especially small ones, that have gone under. There's some bigger ones that are going under, too. Because, you can't be shut for 2 months and not have it affect your business. So that is a problem, but this was kind of an artificial shutdown. So I do foresee people getting back into their jobs. And I don't know what it's like where you live, but we've opened up pretty much. I mean, not completely, but almost all. And really, things are starting to buzz. I mean, you can just see people are getting back to a type of normal. There's still some oddities left out there. And again, it's going to get better as it goes. More will be opening up. But, I can tell from people getting out there and doing things and just being glad to be outside. Everybody you talk to, that's how they're feeling. Anyway, I wanted to show you this. Furman's counterintuitive pitch has caused some Democrats, especially Obama alumni around Washington, to panic. "This is my big worry," said a former Obama White House official who is still close to the former president. Asked about the level of concern among top party officials, he said, "It's high, 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 high." Well, why is this a big worry? Our economy's going to recover? Oh my goodness, that's a worry. Well, it's a worry for them because that's going to lose them the election. And they're pretty sure that if that happens, that's what's going to be. So they're not real happy with this Furman guy. I just thought it was kind of a funny article there because, the Democrats are so worried. And then, Politico, just interesting when you go there and see some of the articles they put up. By the way, a couple of these, that one and another one I'm going to show you later, were a couple that Rush Limbaugh talked about on his show today, and that's where I kind of thought, yeah, let's go see what Politico's got to say. Trump ordered states to open churches. Can he do that? Well, of course, in this article, they say, oh, no, he can't do that. He can't overstep the bounds. He can't tell states what to do. No, can't do that. Of course, Obama signed that whole Dreamer thing. That was telling states what to do, wasn't it? Yeah. Obama did a lot of stuff and told states what to do, but hey, nobody seemed to have a problem with it then, right? But with this, they're saying no, Trump can't. However, he has taken an oath to uphold the Constitution. And he is pretty much the top law enforcement officer in our country. I mean, that's what the executive branch does. It sees that the laws that Congress makes are upheld and our Constitution is upheld. And when these different regulations are put out and they contradict our Constitution, then yeah, I think he does have a power that he can start addressing that. And so, of course, Politico likes to make him look weak and everything. But I did want to show you this. President Trump's statement on its face sounds more like political grandstanding than any actual enforcement of laws protecting religious freedom, said Anthony Romero of the American Civil Liberties Union. Who should be standing up for our civil liberties and for our right to worship, our right to free speech, and all these other things, but the ACLU? But of course, they don't. They pick and choose their battles, and the battles they pick and choose have an agenda. But anyway, this Romero guy, keep him in mind. I want to show you something he says later on in the article. Romero said the Trump administration's efforts reek of hypocrisy and politics. On the one hand, they want to say churches should be open for prayer. On the other hand, they allow lawful abortion clinics to be shut down. The hypocrisy in choosing what states' rights they will challenge, and I think they're missing an and here, and which ones to acquiesce to, is completely rooted in their own partisan agenda, the ACLU executive director said. Yeah, they're comparing going to church and praying with lawful abortion clinics. Wow. Wow. I mean, I know what these people do. I understand. But serious? I mean, how can you even compare those? These people just are, there's something wrong with them that they can't see that comparison, and is just ridiculous. Okay, anyway, Trump sees a rigged election ahead. Democrats see a constitutional crisis in the making. Because, of course, they just can't have any rigged elections. And then they're the ones that are rigging it. So, okay, maybe it's this. They can only stand rigged elections if it's rigged in their favor. How's that? But, yeah, when you look at this, it's like seriously crazy that they're saying this, because what they think he's doing is planting the seeds for delegitimizing the election if he loses. Oh my goodness, this is what they've been doing. This is psychological projection right here, because that's what they've been doing for the last 3.5 years. They have been trying to delegitimize the election. So anyway, I'm not going to read the rest. I just am mostly giving you headlines on these because really the articles are just so negative. But it's interesting to see, and this is another Politico article here. Newsom to issue church guidance Monday disregards Trump threat. Okay, now this was on the 22nd. And it says, Governor Gavin Newsom said Friday he plans to issue new guidance Monday on religious institutions, appearing to disregard threats, they call it threats, earlier in the day by President Donald Trump to, quote, override states that don't open them this weekend. Okay, so what's he going to do, according to this, on the 22nd? Oh, he's going to disregard what Trump said. Threats. I just can't believe they call it threats. Okay, so what happens here? California reopens churches 3 days after Trump threatened to override states. So it doesn't appear to me that he disregarded what was said. It sounds to me like he was listening. Governor Gavin Newsom gave California churches the green light Monday to reopen 3 days after President Donald Trump. And again, threatened. We got to use the word threatened because that's how they want to portray it. Even though it wasn't a threat, it was just saying, this is what the Constitution says. I don't understand why these people seem to think the Constitution is totally suspended Well, I do understand, but it's just not the right way to think. And of course, this article saying, well, it wasn't because of Trump. It's because he was facing pressure from more than 1,200 California pastors. Well, they should have. I mean, they were vowed to resume services this upcoming Sunday, regardless of what the governor decided. So in other words, Newsom knew he was not going to succeed. And he thought, yep, I can't do this. I'm going to have to give in to their demands. So he did. And of course, they went through, they have all this thing, and they're advising caution around church singing. So yeah, you can go to church, but don't sing. You can't sing. If you sing, you're going to spread the virus more. So don't sing and wear a mask and all the other things, the face coverings, all the different kinds of things you have to have. So I just thought it was kind of interesting, the whole thing about singing. And group recitation. You can't do group recitation. That must be tough. Don't the Muslims do that in their services? Isn't there like prayers that they say together or something? I don't know. So yeah, I just thought that was kind of weird. And so, yes, the religious services and funerals can host a maximum of 100 people or 25% of building capacity, whichever is lower. So yeah, they've got all these guidelines they have to follow and everything. Well, this has gone to the Ninth Circuit. These Ninth Circuit Obama-Clinton judges are saying, guess what? Of course he can do it. He can do whatever he wants. We're going to uphold his ban on in-person church services during the coronavirus pandemic. And basically it's until there's a cure, until this virus doesn't exist anymore. And they say here, we're dealing here with a highly contagious and often fatal disease. That's a lie right there. It is not often fatal. It is rarely fatal. But that's how they have to paint it. That's how they keep control and the fear in everybody, because, if they say often fatal, then everybody's going to say, well, see, anybody could die from it. That's not really true. For which there presently is no known cure. In the words of Justice Robert Jackson, if a court does not temper its doctrinaire logic with a little practical wisdom, it will convert the Constitutional Bill of Rights into a suicide pact. I mean, that's what they're saying about it. Perhaps these two lefty scholars can point us to where the First Amendment states, except in an emergency. So I don't think so. Are they proposing the suspension of the Bill of Rights until there's a cure? Which may never happen. So I just thought it was very interesting here that they were saying that. So it was a good little article. As always, you know me, I leave the links down below in the description so you can get those. And then this one, behind Trump's demand to reopen churches, slipping poll numbers and alarm inside his campaign. Oh, yeah, that's the reason he's doing it. He's worried. Oh, no. And they always pick really bad pictures of him. That's just what they do. And so a sudden shift in support for Donald Trump among religious conservatives is triggering alarm bells inside his re-election campaign, where top aides have long banked on expanding the president's evangelical base as a key part of their strategy for victory this November. Okay, I don't know where they're getting this, because the religious conservatives I know, the evangelicals, are definitely not leaving Trump. I mean, they're not at all. In fact, there are a few that didn't want to vote for him at first, the first time around, because they didn't like what he was standing for, and now they're starting to see how necessary it is to get him back in there again. So, yeah, it says the anxiety over Trump's standing with the Christian right surfaced after a pair of surveys by reputable outfits earlier this month found waning confidence in the administration's coronavirus response among key religious groups, and with a staggering decline in the president's favorability among white evangelicals and white Catholics. Both are crucial constituencies that supported Trump by wide margins in 2016 and could sink his re-election prospects if their turnout shrinks this fall. The polls paint a bleak picture for Trump. I mean, how negative are they? How negative can they be? And I was going to try to find it, but I didn't. They had several different Trumptillas, like they had down in Florida, and I showed you that in one video. Well, they had a few others along the East Coast over Memorial Day weekend. I mean, thousands of boats with Trump flags and American flags and everything going up and down the coast. So I don't know where they're getting this. I don't know who this particular poll was because they don't state who it was. They say reputable. Well, yeah, we're going to find out in a minute what they class as reputable. I don't know. I don't believe it. I don't believe polls anymore. So, yeah, he's worried. Slipping poll numbers. That's the whole reason for his demand to reopen churches. Oh, are you serious? I can't even think up these things because it's just so different from the way my mind works. National Republicans sue California to block mail ballot November election. So there are some Republicans in California that are going for this particular thing because I'll tell you, this is a huge problem, having these mail-in ballots. And this is really something that's going to have to be addressed. And of course, our president decided to put his opinion down. But look at this, and for those who might not be used to Twitter, check this out. Get the facts about mail-in ballots. Well, President Trump said there is no way, zero, that mail-in ballots will be anything less than substantially fraudulent. Mailboxes will be robbed, ballots will be forged, and even illegally printed out and fraudulently signed. The governor of California is sending ballots to millions of people. Anyone living in the state, no matter who they are or how they got there, will get one. That will be followed up with professionals telling all of these people, many of whom have never even thought of voting before, how and for whom to vote. This will be a rigged election. No way. Okay? And of course, when you click on this, then it takes you here and you get to see Twitter's fact check because they're saying Trump makes unsubstantiated claim that mail-in ballots will lead to voter fraud. And look who it's referring to. Yeah, CNN, Washington Post, and others. Ooh, I bet New York Times. You can just kind of tell the players. I mean, it's the same people all the time. And so experts say mail-in ballots are very rarely linked to voter fraud. Okay, here's the difference, folks. If you don't understand what they're doing, is when President Trump is talking about this, he said that they're going to be giving ballots to everyone. That's the problem. The problem is not when people say, you know what, I can't get in to vote. Maybe I have a health issue, or maybe I I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be out of the country, or, well, you can't hardly do that these days very much anymore. But, I'm going to be somewhere else and I won't be able to vote at the time. Well, then you get an absentee ballot. Well, that's okay. That's not what Trump is talking about. You can do that, and there are a lot of people in the situation where that will have to happen. Like in the fall, my parents probably will use absentee ballots this year, just because my mom's health is getting so bad. But that's not what Trump is talking about. It's not an individual person getting a ballot, an absentee ballot, and sending it in. What he's talking about is when these states send out mass mailings of ballots, what happens is a lot of these ballots are going to end up at places where people used to live, but they're not living there anymore. So who gets the ballot? What happens to that ballot? Does it get thrown away, or does it get hijacked by someone else? And that's really what the issue is, that they're taking these ballots, that it makes it very easy for a political operative from one or the other party. It doesn't really even matter which party. It's not fair either way. But that this political operative then would be able to go to people's houses and say, I'll take your ballot in for you. Let me help you fill it out. And there's no necessary ID or anything like that. I think I've said before on this, my very first time of voting for a presidential election, I was in college and it was for Reagan. And I was so proud to have that absentee ballot. I read through it several times and I was stupid. I didn't understand. I knew I had to go to a notary public to get it, stamped that it was me. But I marked the ballot ahead of time and they wouldn't accept it because they didn't see me mark the ballot. Now, if that were the situation, that would be great. But part of the reason that you're getting an absentee ballot sometimes could be because of your health. And it kind of is counterproductive if you have to get a notary public. But anyway, so the situation is that if you're having ballots sent to all prospective registered voters or anyone, I mean, in this case, Gavin Newsom, he can send them to anybody. And since they're a sanctuary state, there's going to be a lot of illegals voting. So this is the situation that Trump is talking about. It's why he's pushing so hard against this, because it's very easy for them to go around to these places where people have moved and to collect all these extra ballots. And then suddenly, they see how the election goes. And if they don't have enough people, enough votes to put their people in, then, oh, look, we just found another box. And it suddenly appears. This did happen in the past election in 2018. We had a few people in California, there were Republicans that did win. But then a few days later, or, a couple times, it was like a week or two later, I think, all of a sudden all these mail-in ballots came in and they lost. So there is voter fraud that goes on there, election fraud, and that's what he was trying to point out. But of course, they take you to CNN and let CNN fact check him. Who fact checks CNN? Well, I thought this was really good. This is Ben Garrison's cartoon. And, he does such a good job with these. I think this one says a million words there. You've got it. That's what it is. And this is what's happening. And he says over here, it's time, Mr. President. President Donald Trump made a promise on Saturday to address the censorship of conservatives on social media platforms. And he has created a committee that's supposed to look into that. So I think that'll be really good. Anyway, good job, Ben. By the way, if you see any of Ben's artwork like this on Twitter or anywhere else that you see it, if you go to his website, you can get t-shirts with any of his designs on it. And they're really nice. I mean, I got one of them that had that 17th letter of the alphabet in it. And, I really love it. It's nice. And they're great conversation starters and everything. So this would be a really good one. I kind of like this one. And then the Trump-Pence campaign put out this statement on the 26th, which is when I'm recording this. And it was Trump campaign statement on new Twitter policy. We always knew that Silicon Valley would pull out all the stops to obstruct and interfere with President Trump getting his message through to voters. Partnering with the biased fake news media fact checkers is only a smokescreen Twitter is using to try to lend their obvious political tactics some false credibility. There are many reasons the Trump campaign pulled all our advertising from Twitter months ago, and their clear political bias is one of them. So that's a good statement there. I mean, we're aware of it, but how do you fight against it? And so people are saying, well, where's the proof? There's no instance of voter fraud from this. Well, this organization right here, heritage.org, they have a database, and their database is now up to 1,285 proven cases of voter fraud in America. So there it is, and I'll leave this article down below so you can go through, you can see some of them. But yes, voter fraud does exist. And what I thought was really interesting is this one too, 15 election results that were thrown out because of fraudulent mail-in ballots. This was from April 21st. And so you can go through, you can see this, and they give you the data here about it. Voter fraud is too nominal to make a difference in any given election, goes one popular line of argument. But tell that to voters in parts of Florida, Missouri, New York, and North Carolina in recent years. Districts in these 4 states saw election outcomes overturned after absentee voter fraud came to light. Now, with millions of Americans homebound because of COVID-19, progressives are amping up their push for national mail-in voting as Michelle Obama throws her support behind related legislation purporting to be a response to the pandemic. Very interesting. So I just thought it was interesting that you have this article that talks about 15, and it does give them down and below. It gives the 15 instances. But there were 15 election results that were thrown out because of fraudulent mail-in ballots. So it does exist. And then here's something that I thought was really interesting. This is a Breitbart article. Team Trump to Jim Acosta, here's your examples of mail-in voter fraud. Now, I don't know if you remember that particular exchange with Jim Acosta. Here's his question. You've been talking about voter fraud since the beginning of this administration, and where is the evidence of it? So they gave him evidence. And at that time, the Heritage Foundation had over 1,000 proven cases of vote fraud. And so they gave him this information that he needed. The White House also shares details of a 2005 commission led by President Jimmy Carter and George W. Bush's Secretary of State, James A. Baker III, that concluded mail-in ballots remain the largest source of potential voter fraud. So, it does exist, and I don't understand why people with a brain would not understand this, because this concept right here is just, it's obvious. If you're sending ballots to everyone, then how easy is it going to be for them to make fraudulent ballots and add those to the bunch? How will you know? So it's just something that we need to be aware of. If your state's pushing for it, you need to make sure that they don't do that. And then I wanted to leave you with this because I just thought this was a little heartwarming thing. And she said that she emailed President Trump. And there is a place, if you go to the White House website, you can actually send an email. And, you can express your concerns. And that's what she said about my concerns of nursing homes. I got a call today about my concern. You think he's not reading things? Think again. Never in all my years have I had anyone in the government jump on something and handled it. My confirmation, he cares. Thank you, sir. That's really all the data she gave. I don't know. I don't think he called her, but somebody did. And I think that's really important. So go to the White House and express your concerns. Put in there information. If you know about something, put it in there. Who knows? I do think he reads things. I think that is something that, obviously he's not going to read them all because I'm sure he gets a whole big bunch. But, everybody was very encouraging to her. I like this one. I mean, that's really kind of a cool graphic. Look at all of it. So, but anyway, so I just thought I would share this with you because it was encouraging. That's no small thing, and I agree with that. It's something that's very encouraging when you feel like somebody does listen to you and you're not just sending off this email and nobody pays any attention. So, anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I have no idea why Kathy Griffin is trending right now. I don't really care. So, yeah, and George Floyd. Too bad they're all so worried about one person's death and they're not worried about all the babies that die every day. So, anyway, but that's all I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by. and I'll see y'all later.